There's 16 teams in the SEC. Nearly one of those is either aiming for a playoff spot or getting their coach fired. And 8 SEC conference games on Saturday, the most ever in a single day ever in history. So we had SEC slate full of fantastic games. And the first one where we're going to start, number 5, Ole Miss, travel to Sanford Stadium down there at number 9, Georgia. A barn burner, an offensive fire-filled game. Ends up 43-35 in favor of Georgia. What'd you see?
Yeah, if you told someone a few years ago that somebody scored 35 points on Georgia at home, they would have said, huh? And they would have looked at you like they probably won that game by double digits. Well, Ole Miss did everything they needed to do, except score in the fourth quarter. Ole Miss finally what Trinidad Chambliss was doing to that Georgia defense was mightily impressive. Ole Miss was just as a whole cooking. Lane Kiffin had Chambliss. He finished 19-36, 263 yards and a touchdown. I think what happened was towards the late game, they were kind of forcing the pass a little bit because Georgia had stopped their run pretty well. Juwan Lacey only had 12 carries for 31 yards. So they were looking to kind of keep passing the ball. And at that point, eventually the thing about Kirby Smart is, you might score some points on him, but eventually he's going to out-adjust you. He's going to out-coach you eventually, right? Even the best of them, like Lane Kiffin, at some point, Kirby Smart's going to say enough is enough, and they're going to outcoach you. And I don't know what the synopsis is or how they do it as a Georgia program, but they always find a way to do it, right? And that was my takeaway from this game. I also take away with this game is Gunner Stockton is legit. He is fun to watch. He was 26-31, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns. He might take over Tyson for my Swagger Watch of the Week this week because what he's able to do just super, super impressive. He also had 10 carries for 59 yards and a touchdown. He totaled 5 touchdowns. Gunner Stockton did. So what he was able to do in that game was so impressive. And it's really cool watching a player live out their dreams. That was his dream, was to play for Georgia and to play in games like this. And he, not only did he live up to the hype, he lived up to the expectation. And I think, this game was won by just Georgia's slight defensive adjustments as well as Georgia's offense just being that damn good.
Definitely. Kirby Smart, he called it just another day in the SEC, but Georgia reminded everybody that they're hard to kill, I think is the way to put it. For 3 quarters, Lane Kiffin's offense was surgical. Trinidad Chambliss looked like the GOAT for 3 quarters. Their offense was rolling. They scored on their first 5 possessions. He found 8 different receivers, I think, I read in the first 3 quarters of this game. But what we talked about last week with Georgia-Auburn, their season identity is the refusal to go away. And in the fourth quarter, this time it was Gunner Stockton and the adjustments, like you mentioned, that helped flip that switch again. Down 35-26 entering the fourth quarter. 0 first downs for Ole Miss in the fourth quarter. 17-0 in the final frame is what Georgia outscored Ole Miss. They're just impossible. They seemingly impossible to put away is what I'm gathering from this Georgia team. Maybe they're tougher than they are prettier, I feel like, because their game is not super eye-catching. It's a lot of hard-nosed screen kind of stuff. Stockton delivered one of the gutsiest performances I had seen from him, if not the gutsiest. The part I thought was biggest was on the ground. You mentioned it too. 10 rushes for 59 yards, including a score on the ground. They doubled Ole Miss in time of possession. Winning recipes too with quarterback and tight end. When they're bros, it's a good thing. And when Lawson Lucky was elite with Gunner Stockton, 3 touchdowns for those guys connecting. So they were a big thing in this game. And Georgia, they've trailed in their 5 SEC, I guess in 4 of their 5 SEC games, they've trailed at halftime. They're 3-1 in those games. The second half adjustments, it's not just a thing that we say because they play better in the second half. It is a thing that they do, and as a result, play better in the second half.
Yeah, one thing I want to mention in this game is you mentioned it with Gunner, and I mentioned it as well with Gunner, what he was able to do with his legs. But Georgia had 221 yards on the ground, whereas Ole Miss only had 88 yards. In the SEC, I talk about it every week, right? Yeah. I talked about it against Oklahoma and Texas last week. Oklahoma actually ran the ball this week. In the SEC, you have to be able to run the football. If you can't run the football in the SEC, it limits your offense too much, and these defenses are too good. The teams you're playing are too good if you can't run the ball. Ole Miss obviously needed to up their rushing attack a little bit more because 3.7 yards per carry. It's not horrible, but it's not amazing. Whereas Georgia ran it 49 times, almost double the amount that Ole Miss ran it, and averaged 4.5 yards a carry. 4.5 yards a carry, excuse me.
Yeah, and like we mentioned last week, when you play Georgia, you sign up for 60. And that's what Ole Miss maybe thought they were getting into. But it's a harsh reminder for them, right, that a great start doesn't all the time mean anything if you can't close. The Rebels were 1 quarter away from a win that could have really put them on a fantastic trajectory for the rest of the season. But those last 15 minutes were run by Georgia.
Yep, you gotta play 60 minutes, not 45, not 42, not 58. You gotta play 60 minutes of, as there's a quote there, you gotta play 6 minutes of FU football in the SEC if you want to win a game. And I think Georgia knows how to play 60 minutes of a football game because they are just so well coached. Kirby Smart has that team. I think he's the best coach in college football right now.
Yeah,
I feel comfortable saying that.
Yeah.
I was thinking the best coach in college football this year going into the year was going to be Dabo Swinney, but I think after some weeks and some more time to really assess where these coaches are at this year, I think Kirby Smart is the best coach in college football.
It's hard to deny it, right? He's got the record, he's got the track record, and every single year it seems like he's got a team who's playing smash mouth football. We talked about how there was 8 SEC conference games today. We're going to start our breakdown with all 3 of the biggest ones.